I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about the biggest heartbreak of my life, but here I am. My name's Dave, and I want to tell you all something that still feels like a punch in the gut even weeks later. It's about my wife, Emily, and how everything I believed about her and us was shattered during what was supposed to be our anniversary trip. We had plans for a romantic getaway, just the two of us, to celebrate 5 years of marriage. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew us. We met in college, a whirlwind romance that turned into marriage faster than I'd ever expected. Honestly, I thought I had it all: good job, a nice house, someone who seemed genuinely into me. Emily was beautiful, confident, bitchy at times, but in a way that made her seem strong. She had this attitude that she was always right, always in control, and I loved her for it. We had our arguments, sure, but in general, I thought we were solid. Until that trip. She had been acting strange for weeks before we left. She'd cancel plans last minute, say she was busy with work or that she was tired from late nights at the office. I buy that she's busy, but the way she'd dodge questions, get defensive, and suddenly seem distracted, it felt off. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. We'd been through a lot, and I figured maybe she just needed some space or was stressed. That's what I told myself. But it all changed the moment I opened our joint bank account on the morning of our departure. I was just checking to make sure everything was good, as I usually do before a trip, and I noticed something strange. There was a hotel receipt, an expensive one, linked to her credit card, dated the night before. That wasn't the shocking part. What threw me off was that the hotel was in the same city as where I'd seen her phone GPS pinging the night before. I thought, okay, maybe she went out with friends or had some work meeting, but then I saw the name of the hotel and the amount charged. It wasn't a work dinner. It was a hotel she'd booked for herself and some guy. I felt my stomach drop. I felt the world tilt. I had no idea what to think at first. My mind raced. Was she cheating? Did she lie about work? Who was this guy? But here's the worst part: I kept reading. Because I found the receipts, I also found the details of a series of text messages between her and someone she insisted was just a colleague. The messages were flirty, suggestive, and they went on for months. She lied about late-night work meetings, said she was working late or brainstorming ideas. All BS. I knew then she'd been lying to me for a long time. It wasn't just about the trip, it was everything. All those nights she'd said she was working late, all the times I'd seen her glance at her phone with a guilty look, all the little things that didn't add up. And now this, I felt sick. I felt betrayed. I felt like I'd been played for a fool. That morning I sat in my car outside the hotel, staring at the receipt that was still in my hand. My mind was spinning, trying to piece it all together. I wanted to cry, to scream, to do something, to confront her. Right there, right then. But instead I just sat there, frozen. My whole life suddenly felt like a lie. How could she do this? After all the years, after all the promises she made. I thought I knew her, but turns out I was just fooling myself. She was hiding something and I didn't even see it coming. I kept thinking about how she'd always been so bitchy, so difficult, but I loved her anyway. And now I see she was just hiding her true self, someone who lied, cheated, and broke every vow she ever made. I wanted to confront her, but I also knew I needed time to process what I'd found. That's when I decided I wouldn't be the one to reach out first. She'd come home and I'd face her. But I already knew, deep down, that nothing would be the same after that day. When Emily finally came back from her business trip, I was already sitting there waiting. She walked into the house, all smiles and that fake charm she threw on when she thought she was clever. I looked at her and I felt nothing but coldness. She had no idea I knew. About the hotel, the receipts, the messages, not yet. I wanted her to sweat, to squirm a little, just enough to see the cracks in her perfect, bitchy facade. She dropped her bag on the floor and said, "Hey, babe, I missed you," as if nothing had happened. I looked right at her and said, "We need to talk." Her smile faded just a little. Still, she tried to brush it off with her usual sass. "What's wrong? Did something happen?" I didn't waste time beating around the bush. I pulled out the hotel receipt, the one I found in her purse, because of course she was careless enough to forget she'd left it there. Her face turned white for a second, then she quickly masked it with her typical bitchy smirk. "Oh, that," she said, shrugging. "It's nothing, just a work thing." I felt my blood boil. Nothing. Emily, I saw the hotel receipt. I saw the messages. You lied to me about working late. You lied about everything. Who is this guy? Why were you with him in a hotel? Were you fucking him? Her eyes flashed with anger, and she rolled her eyes. You're overreacting, Dave. You're just jealous. I was working, I swear. It's not what you think. You always jump to conclusions. I clenched my fists. No, Emily, I'm tired of your lies. I saw the messages. It's obvious you've been cheating on me for months. How long has this been going on with your colleague? She scoffed. You don't know what you're talking about. That's just work talk. People flirt sometimes. It doesn't mean anything. You're just insecure. I've been faithful, I swear. You're being paranoid because you don't trust me. Trust. After all the signs, after the receipts, after the late-night texts she denied, I wanted to believe her, really I did, but I knew better. The way she looked at me, her defensive attitude, it all pointed to guilt. I'd caught her and she knew it. Then why did you lie about the meetings? Why did you lie about where you were? This isn't just a little flirtation, Emily. You were fucking him, weren't you? My voice cracked with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. I couldn't keep it together anymore. She crossed her arms and shot me a look that was as bitchy as ever. Honestly, Dave, you're being ridiculous. You're reading too much into everything. Maybe you're just insecure because I work hard and I don't have time for your stupid suspicions. Maybe I need someone who trusts me instead of accusing me of cheating all the time. That was the moment I realized how completely detached she was from reality. She was trying to turn it around, make me look like the crazy one. That's when I saw her for what she really was, someone who lied so much she didn't even know how to tell the truth anymore. She had this way of talking that made it sound like I was the one with the problem, not her. I sat there, silent, feeling the weight of everything crushing me. I'd been betrayed, publicly and painfully. All the love, all the trust I'd given her gone. I wanted to scream, to yell, to break something. But instead, I just looked at her and thought about how I'd been so blind. How I'd ignored the signs, the little things that added up. And now I was standing here, realizing I'd lost the woman I thought I knew. I knew then that this wasn't just about one night or one lie. It was about months of her sneaking around, hiding her lies behind that bitchy attitude. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal swirling inside me. I couldn't even process what I was feeling or what I wanted to do next. All I knew was that I couldn't stay in this house with her anymore. Not like this. Not after finding out she'd been cheating on me with my best friend, Mark. But I kept my cool because I knew I had to decide what to do next, and I wasn't ready to give her the satisfaction of seeing how much she'd hurt me. There was just one thing I was sure of. I was done trusting her. Done pretending everything was okay. And from that moment on, I knew my life was about to change forever. After that confrontation, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. My mind kept replaying everything. Her words, her smirk, the hotel receipt, that damn message trail. I couldn't believe I'd been so stupid, so blind. For years, I'd been working my ass off to give her a good life, thinking she was the one. And all along, she was sneaking around, lying, betraying everything we built. It was like a punch to the gut every time I thought about how she'd lied for so long. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd just learned. My wife, Emily, whom I loved, whom I trusted, turned out to be just another selfish bitch who wanted to have her cake and eat it too. The worst part, I wasn't even surprised anymore, just numb. I knew she had a bitchy side, but I never thought she'd be capable of this kind of betrayal. That was the kind of thing I'd read about in stories or see in movies, not something I'd ever imagine happening to me. The next morning, I decided I had to get some space. I couldn't face her yet. Instead, I went to my best friend Mark's place. I needed to talk to someone who knew me, who understood what I was going through. Mark was the closest thing I had to a brother. I told him everything, the receipts, the hotel, her lies. I saw the shock in his eyes, but mostly I saw anger. Because he knew Emily too, and I told him how she'd been acting strange, how she'd lied about work meetings and late nights, all that bullshit. Mark looked at me and said, "Dude, she's been cheating on you for months. And with me, that's fucked up. How the hell did you not see this coming?" I just shook my head. Honestly, I'd been so wrapped up in work and trying to keep everything together I didn't see the signs, but now it was all so clear. She'd been sneaky, manipulative, acting like the victim whenever I confronted her, throwing in her bitchy attitude to distract. I felt a mixture of rage and heartbreak. I wanted to confront her again, to tell her I knew everything. But I also wanted to smash something. It was a helpless feeling, knowing that the woman I loved was out there, screwing around with my best friend behind my back. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever trust again. It dawned on me that I was probably a fool for thinking she was loyal, that I'd been blind all along. Later that day, I decided I needed concrete proof. I pulled out my laptop and started digging through her phone, her emails, anything that could confirm what I already suspected. I found more messages, more proof that she'd been lying and cheating for a long time. The texts were explicit sometimes, flirtatious, intimate. She'd been hiding this life from me, pretending to be the devoted wife while secretly sneaking around with Mark. I couldn't believe I'd been so naive. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal. Every message, every lie made me feel more betrayed. I thought about all the nights I'd spent working late, coming home exhausted, not knowing she was out with him, doing God knows what. I kept asking myself, how much longer had this been going on? Was I just another idiot who thought everything was fine? Or worse, was I just too blind to see her true nature? That night, I sat down and wrote a long message to her, not to send, just to get my feelings out. I called her every name in the book, cursed the day I ever met her, and told her exactly how much she'd hurt me. I realized that I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with any of it. I'd been a fool to trust her, to believe her lies. Now I had to figure out what to do next, whether I should confront her again, demand answers, or just cut her off completely. Honestly, part of me wanted to walk out that door and never look back. But I also knew I needed to hear her explain herself, if only to hear her bullshit lies one last time. I was angry, hurt, and betrayed, but I wasn't going to make any rash decisions yet. I needed time to think, to plan. I wanted her to feel the consequences of what she'd done, to realize that I wasn't going to be some stupid fool who forgave her so easily. So I stayed quiet that night, letting the storm inside me rage. I knew my life was about to change forever and I couldn't stop it. Just like that, everything I'd believed in, my marriage, my trust, my sense of stability, was crumbling. And the worst part, I knew the real fight was just beginning. The following days were a blur of pain and clarity all at once. I kept replaying everything I'd uncovered, every lie she'd told, and every time I'd ignored the signs. I felt like I was walking around in someone else's life. Emily, with her bitchy attitude and sharp tongue, suddenly seemed so distant. I couldn't comprehend how someone so manipulative had managed to hide her true self for so long. I knew I had to face her eventually. Ignoring her wasn't going to make this go away. So, one evening, after a day of stewing and gathering my thoughts, I decided I'd get the truth out of her once and for all. I set up a time to talk that night, fully prepared for whatever she'd throw back at me. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to be played anymore. I wanted her to feel the weight of her lies. When she walked into the living room, all confident and bitchy, I was already sitting there with the evidence spread out on the table. Her eyes flicked to the papers, then to me. Her smile was fake, but her eyes flashed annoyance. "What's this?" she asked, tilting her head, trying to act innocent but failing miserably. I didn't hold back. "This is everything. The hotel receipts, the messages, the bank details. I know you've been cheating on me, Emily. With Mark, my best friend. How long has this been going on? How many nights have you lied to me? How many times did you sneak out, pretend you were working late, and screw him?" Her face twisted into an expression of pure contempt. "You're crazy, Dave. You always jump to conclusions. You're so insecure. No wonder I have to hide things from you. I was just having some fun, okay? It's not a big deal." "Mark and I, stop lying." I cut her off. "I saw the messages. I saw the hotel. Did you think I wouldn't find out? How long have you been messing around behind my back? Was it just sex, or was there more?" She scoffed, crossing her arms again. "You think I can't have a life outside of you? You're so possessive. Honestly, I was tired of your controlling bullshit. Mark and I were just friends. It meant nothing. Just some late-night chats, that's all. You're blowing this out of proportion." I shook my head, feeling the rage bubbling up. "That's bullshit, Emily. I saw the texts. I saw how you flirted with him, how you planned to meet up. Don't try to deny it. You lied for months. You lied about everything and I'm done pretending I didn't see it. Her eyes narrowed. You're just jealous. You're insecure because I don't cater to your stupid little ego. If you had any balls, you'd understand I need my freedom. This, this is what I want. Not some boring marriage with someone who doesn't trust me. That was the moment I realized she had no remorse, no shame. Just that bitchy attitude deflecting everything. And the worst part, I was starting to realize that I'd been a fool all along for trusting her, that her manipulative words were just her way of getting out of trouble, of making herself look like the victim. I hated her for that. I hated her for making me doubt myself for so long. I felt my fists clench again. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to make her understand just how much she destroyed. But instead I looked at her and said, "You're a liar, Emily, and you're a cheat. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. I'm done being your fool." She looked at me with a smirk, a mixture of disdain and defiance. "Good. Then maybe you'll finally wake up and see I was never yours to begin with. I never was. You're just a convenient mistake I made when I was bored. I'll find someone better." That struck a nerve. I saw her true colors and I realized I'd been deluding myself thinking she was worth saving. She was just a manipulative, selfish bitch who thought she could play me. I'd had enough. As she stormed out, I knew my life had changed forever. I didn't cry that night. Instead, I felt a cold resolve settle inside me. I was going to move on no matter how much it hurt. I had to, because staying with her or trying to fix this would only mean more pain. I had to rebuild to find myself again. And I knew that from now on I'd be more careful about who I trusted. The days that followed were some of the hardest I've ever lived through. Every moment I felt like I was carrying the weight of her betrayal on my shoulders. At first, I kept thinking about what I could have done differently. If there was some way I could have saved us. But deep down, I knew Emily's problem wasn't me, it was her. She was selfish, manipulative, and totally disconnected from what real love and respect meant. I decided I didn't want to be around her anymore. I started packing up some of my things, planning to move out. I wanted to get some space, clear my head, and figure out what I truly needed. I knew I needed to cut her out of my life. No contact, no more lies, no more pretending everything was okay. It hurt to admit I was ending a marriage I'd fought for, but I couldn't stay with someone who had betrayed me this badly. The hardest part was facing Mark. My best friend, the guy I thought I could trust with my life, turned out to be the other half of this nightmare. I confronted him one last time just to hear him say it straight. And he did. He admitted everything, how they'd been sneaking around, how they'd been messing around for months. His excuses were pathetic. "It just happened," or "I didn't mean for it to get so serious." Yeah, right. That made it all worse. I felt so betrayed, so angry. Mark had been my confidant, my brother in all but blood, and he'd thrown that all away for some meaningless sex with my wife. I wanted to punch him, to scream at him for the pain he caused, but I held it in. What was the point? He was just another selfish asshole who didn't care about loyalty or friendship. That realization hit me hard. I was surrounded by liars, manipulators, and people I thought I could trust. I packed up my things and moved into a small apartment nearby. I needed a fresh start, away from the house, away from Emily and Mark. The place was modest, but it was mine. I threw myself into work, trying to drown out the pain, the betrayal, the sense of loss. I kept asking myself how someone I loved and trusted could do this to me. How she could lie for months, pretend she cared, then turn around and cheat. Some nights I'd sit alone in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of everything. I felt angry, betrayed, and empty. I'd never felt so alone. I kept thinking about all the promises we made, all the plans we had, and how they were all shattered in an instant. I wondered if I'd ever trust anyone again, if I could ever look at a woman the same way. That thought scared me more than anything. But slowly I began to see a path forward. I cut off all contact with Emily, blocked her number, unfriended her on social media, deleted her from my life. I knew I had to do this to heal. I also realized I needed to focus on myself, on rebuilding what I'd lost. I started hitting the gym, reconnecting with old friends, trying to find a way to regain my sense of self. And here's what I learned: betrayal cuts deep. It makes you question everything. But it also shows you who really matters, who's worth fighting for. I'm not there yet, but I know I'll get through this. I've got scars now and some wounds that may never fully heal, but I also have a new understanding of what true loyalty and respect mean. And I promise myself I'll never let someone treat me like that again. So, to anyone out there going through something similar, just know it hurts, bad, but you're stronger than you think. Take the time you need to grieve, to process, and then start rebuilding. Don't stay stuck in the past. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's hard to repair. But you can rebuild yourself piece by piece. And someday you'll look back and see how far you've come. Now, looking back, I realize how much this whole ordeal changed me. At first, I felt broken, like I'd lost everything I thought was real. But as time went on, I started to see that betrayal, as painful as it was, also opened my eyes. It forced me to rethink what I wanted from life, from relationships, and most importantly, from myself. I learned that trust is something you earn, not something you give blindly, and that the people who truly matter will stay, even when everything else falls apart. Emily's departure was messy, full of spite and bitchy comments, but honestly, I felt a strange sense of relief once she was gone. I didn't need her lies anymore. I didn't need her games. What I needed was to rebuild my sense of self piece by piece. I started focusing on my career again, reconnecting with my family and friends who supported me through the worst. Slowly, I found happiness in small things, going for walks, reading, even dadding again. Nothing serious yet, but just enough to remind myself that life still moves forward, even after the worst betrayals. The funny thing is, I don't hate Emily. I don't even really resent her now. I just feel sorry for her, for whatever void she was trying to fill with lies and betrayal. I hope one day she realizes how much damage she caused and maybe she'll grow up. But I also know I can't control her. The only thing I can do is control how I move on from here. And I am moving on. Stronger, wiser, more cautious. I've learned to listen to my instincts and not ignore the signs of someone's true character. I've learned that love isn't about sacrifice or blind trust, but about honesty and respect. Most of all, I've learned that I am worth more than someone who would cheat, lie, and betray everything we once shared. So, if there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this. Do be afraid to walk away from someone who doesn't deserve you. Don't stay in a relationship just because you're comfortable or scared of being alone. Trust is the foundation of any real connection, and if it's broken, it's better to start over than to keep living in the shadow of lies. This experience has been brutal, but it's also made me better. I know what I want, what I don't want, and how to be more honest with myself. I'll never forget what happened, but I refuse to let it define me. I'll keep moving forward stronger than ever, and I hope anyone who's been betrayed learns to do the same. Life's too short to waste time on people who don't truly care, and I'll never let anyone cheat or lie to me again. Not now, not ever.